The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile. South Africa Tourism. South Africa Tourism. Inspiring new ways.
Hello, welcome to another edition of your favorite current affairs program on television, The Point of View, right here on Citi TV. My name is Chukman Topoko, sitting in for your regular host, Bernard Koko Avle. In this edition, of course, this is a group, a pressure group, properly so called, that has held government and state institutions to held their feet to the fire in the last couple of years in this country. I'm talking about Occupy Ghana.
Couple of years?
Yes, in this edition, I have the leadership of Occupy Ghana in studio. We'll be having a conversation about the state of affairs. Of course, the Auditor General's report has been topical in the country since last week. And we know that this group, in 2016, actually took the Auditor General through the Attorney General to court over these matters of surcharge and disallowance. Today, there was a mammoth demonstration in the country in relation to this matter. We'll be talking about that. Aisha One is in the news once again today. It's being reported that she's back in the country in relation to Galamsey matters. This is the same person for whom a nollie prosequa was filed by the Attorney General some years back. The Occupy Ghana group, the pressure group Occupy Ghana, were at the forefront of the fight against Galamsey, spoke about this issue. We have them here today. They'll also speak about that. There's also generally the issues in the economy, inflation, depreciation of the Citi, the IMF program. We're talking about all of those matters. And of course, once we put up this flyer, a lot of comments came in that they've been quiet of late. Maybe they'll be giving us explanation as to why the silence from the group. If it is so, they'll be telling us. Of course, it promises to be an interesting conversation. Don't flip the channel. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back. So joining me in studio is a private legal practitioner, member of Occupy Ghana, Ace Ananankuma. Welcome, counsel, if I can call you that.
Oh, Ace is fine. Yes. Counsel is too formal. Thank you.
Welcome, Ace. We'll also be joined by Sydney Kesley Hayford, also a member of the Occupy Ghana group. Welcome.
Yeah, and Sir Sydney now.
Sir Sydney.
Yeah.
Well, what explains the Sir Sydney? Have you been knighted by the Queen and we didn't?
Well, if he is still Ace Ankuma, so why can't I be somebody different?
Very well.
Within Occupy Ghana, we call him El Cid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Few.
All right. So let's actually cut to the chase. Let's begin with the Auditor General's report, and let's put some perspective first with some graphs that were put out there. So analysis that was done by a fellow at Imani, Dr. Thieu Champong. We had him last week on the show when the report was released, and he did some analysis from 2015 on the components that make up the financial irregularities in the Auditor General's report. So in 2015, you take a look at the graph, and of course, a mixture of the combined graph, bar and then line graph. You see the yellow stands for taxes. In 2015, you have contract irregularities down at the bottom. Then you have the yellow, which stands for tax irregularities. Then you have the green, that stands for debts, loans, and advances. Then you go to 2016, you see the payroll irregularities makes up a chunk of the irregularities. That's the blue bar up there. In 2017, looks like the bar comes down a bit, but you have still tax irregularities and cash irregularities making up the chunk of it. 2018, you have tax and payroll. In 2019, you have tax once again, and you have cash. In 2020, there is a contract, which is the ash. Then you have yellow, which is the tax irregularities. and then green, that is debt, loans, and advances. And in 2021, the current report, you have tax irregularities making up, the larger part of the irregularities that were reported. So this is what we've actually been battling with. But a part of this whole conversation which we had last week, which has also come up to the fore today, is got to do with the powers of the Auditor General under Clause 7B of Article 187 of the Constitution, which is about the surcharge and disallowance powers of the Auditor General. So let's come in studio now. Let me begin with you, Ace, on this matter. So in 2016, when you went to court, you wanted an interpretation of the clause I've mentioned to the effect that upon its true and proper interpretation, the Auditor General should be doing more than he was doing at the point in time. If you look back at what you did in 2016, sorry.
Yeah, the judgment was in 2017.
2017, yes.
We went to court in 2016.
2016.
And got the judgment in 2017.
Yeah, and where we are now, currently, how do you judge what the state of affairs is?
It's important to put this in context.
Great.
Our view of Article 1877B, which the Supreme Court upheld in full, was this: that our Auditor General, unlike any other auditor, just does not prepare an audit report and submit it.
Okay.
Our Constitution says the Auditor General does more than do a journalistic representation of what he's been looking at.
Okay.
It says that when in the course of his audit, he or she detects that there's any illegal expense, unlawful use of government money, he will disallow that. And when he disallows it, he then does three things.
Okay.
One, surcharge the persons in respect of the illegal expense.
Mm-hmm.
Two, surcharge persons in respect of amounts not brought into account.
Okay.
Three, surcharge any loss or deficiency against anybody whose misconduct or negligence led to the loss or deficiency. The Constitution used the word may. And so when we first wrote to the Auditor General, he literally told us that we can't force him to do what we say. So we went to the Supreme Court, and this was our argument. We admit that the word may is empowering. Okay. It is not mandatory or imperative. It's empowering.
Like shall.
Unlike shall. But where you have been given a power which says that if you discover this, you may do this. And the Constitution itself says that when a power is given to you, you shall exercise the power from time to time as the circumstances determine. I think that's 295.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the Auditor General, since 1993, when the Constitution came into force, has in every report pointed to the trigger, the main trigger, the unlawful expenditure, but has never surcharged. Never, not once. Then the non-use of the power is an abuse of the power.
Okay.
So it says, if you see that it is white, you may turn it black. But the point is that this is state monies being lost. Then in the course of our research, we discovered that one of the auditors general in 2004 had gone to Standard Gempa and confirmed that we have this power that we have never used. So we put his slides, which we got on the net, before the Supreme Court. We saw the Constitutional Review Commission say that donor partners have complained. Why is Ghana's Auditor General not doing what the Constitution has given, the powers the Constitution has given him to do? Long and short, we got hinted, no Auditor General will do it. Go to court.
Okay.
Go to court.
For fear of victimization, politicization.
Absolutely. Who are the people the Auditor General audits? Yes. Government.
Yeah.
And who wants to do that? Which Auditor General wants to put his neck on the line? So we went to court. The Supreme Court accepted. But my point is this. Did we have to go to court when the Constitution is so clear? But they sat down. We spent tens of thousands of cedis in preparation for court.
Filing.
And filing fees. You know, the Supreme Court, our brief was 300 pages.
You file per page.
And then you file 15, 16 copies because it's a constitutional matter. Do we have to go through that expense? Only for the Supreme Court to say, of course, but this is pretty obvious. In fact, we have changed the word may into shall.
So now it's mandatory.
It's mandatory. So these are mandatory orders of the Supreme Court. But, you know, interesting things happened. Thank God for the last days of John Mahama's government, when he appointed Daniel Domelobo. People don't want us to mention his name, but we will, as Auditor General. And he came in and called us and said, actually, he agrees with our fight. Why are we fighting? And I will reveal to you that there were attempts to settle the matter. Okay. But we then said, no, let the Supreme Court pronounce on this. Because if we made it quiet, another Auditor General may come. And this was almost prophetic. And who, without the Supreme Court judgment, won't enforce it? And so we went and the Supreme Court ruled for us. Domelobo ran with this. Disallowed 5.4 billion cedis attempted theft. And I'm not quoting everybody. I'm quoting the president in the State of the Union address. Yeah. They had given the government false accounting to show that the government owed 11 billion. And when they gave it to Domelobo and he did his audit, he discovered that 5.4 was juice. Cream.
Free money.
He disallowed it. Now remember, the Supreme Court said if he did that, the Attorney General should take steps, even criminal prosecution. Why is nobody asking the successive Attorney General why nobody was prosecuted after Domelobo detected the 5.4 billion cedis attempted theft?
So as at now, no action has been taken on that.
Nothing.
And we know the people who have the audit identified the people.
See, the people submitted accounts to government that this is money. You see, listen, there was a new government. So the new government asked civil servants, we want to know the state of our indebtedness. Who do we owe? So various civil servants prepared documents and submitted to the government that you owe contractor X, you owe contractor Y, you owe contractor A.
Wow.
And when Domelobo going through it, he found out that 5.4 had already been paid. You look shocked.
No, it's because it's
5.4 billion. I'm not talking about million. Billion cedis had already been paid. Yet the government was told it owed that money. So who would have received that money?
Because in clear terms, that's almost close to how much we're seeking to rake in the e-levy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So he prevented that. Then when he started surcharging, by the time he left office, he had recovered 67 million cedis.
Okay.
And I'm not quoting everybody. I'm quoting the current vice president in his town hall meeting. I'm quoting the World Bank, which suddenly said Ghana is the beacon in the anti-corruption fight. In the 2020 report by the World Bank, cited Ghana, cited our disallowance and surcharge laws, and said that other African countries are implementing the same law because of the success we had achieved. The World Bank actually mentioned the Occupy Ghana case and mentioned these recoveries and the disallowance. Then from nowhere, Mr. Domelobo became Togolese. Here we are. Now, the new Auditor General, he has to be careful. He might become Malian.
Yeah. he's actually being hailed for being on time, on account with all his work.
He's supposed to listen. Look, he's supposed to send his report to Parliament before 6 months.
Yes.
And the Audit Service Act says he shall immediately publish it.
But this is not something that because it's just 2022 and we have the 2021 report.
No, don't be impressed. The law says, the Constitution says he shall submit it within 6 months. Then the Audit Service Act says after submitting it to Parliament, he shall immediately publish it. We had to threaten him before he published this one.
Oh, really?
Yes, we wrote to him that one, we don't even know if he sent it to Parliament. Can you convince us? We've been to your website. It is not there. So we wrote a hard-hitting letter to him.
But this was never made public.
We did. Your station published it. It's on your website.
Yes.
The next day, the reports appeared on his website.
Wow.
So whilst you're happy, you want to praise him. He did not release the reports, the access
until the threat from Occupy Ghana.
Until the threat from Occupy Ghana. Apparently he sent the reports to Parliament in June. July, August. We had to threaten him before he put it on his own website.
Wow.
So it's easy to be impressed. But so that's it. So why? What is happening? This Auditor General has refused
to do what he has to do
the
in terms
search.
when it comes to that.
Now,
Okay,
but listen to the explanation, because that Ghanaians must understand this.
Okay.
Remember that the Constitution says if in the course of his work he detects the unlawful expenditure, he shall disallow, and the Constitution says, and the Supreme Court says, and surcharge. Good. What is this Auditor General's explanation? He says after he has finished his report, he now goes to investigate for evidence.
Because he doesn't want his cases thrown out.
No, but wait. But you have published the report. You say you have identified Mr. X, Madam Y, as having done disallowable and surchargeable things.
Yeah.
You have mentioned their names. You have given the figures. You put the graph out there. He says after telling Ghanaians, he's now going to look for evidence.
But Ace, you know that when you make such, comment, or you put out the report and you drag people to court, they also have a right of, they have to be heard.
Nobody
they have
said
to.
that.
They can challenge those findings. So he needs to put together a watertight case before.
But wait,
before we start throwing out Auditor General's cases.
He doesn't want to put a watertight case before Parliament, before you and I, who are the ultimate owners of this country. So he comes to us and says, Sydney has chopped 20,000. Then we say, where is the surcharge? I'm not investigating to see if I can have evidence that Sydney has chopped 20,000.
But this is an audit service that even as of today, in the if recoveries are made after they've published this, in their succeeding report, the next report that they release, you don't have these recoveries. To be able to celebrate their own achievements of what they've been able to do.
Don't be fooled by the subterfuge. He says that for him, the cat precedes the horse and the tail wags the dog. Listen, the Constitution says, if you detect, you shall. He says, I have detected, I have reported, I am now going for evidence. So he has told the people that you've taken money, cover your tracks. What if he goes and doesn't find the evidence?
Okay.
Do you understand? So he should have the evidence before
before the report comes out, he already has his case. Go criminally against these guys.
How did he determine that Madam X spent some money that he was not supposed to spend? In the audit, he saw the evidence. So why is he saying that? Having seen the evidence, he's going back for the evidence that he already has.
Okay, maybe Sydney can help us because you have an auditing. You have an auditor. You have an auditing background. Maybe there may be technical audit. Blocks in the way of the auditor general.
Stop dreaming.
In the way of the auditor general, which will prevent him from
look at this thing. He's horrified.
I'm just asking the questions. Sydney.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
That is not the point at all.
Okay.
See, you are trying to come up with some kind of justification for him not having done what he's supposed to do.
Devil's advocate, maybe.
No, you can't play devil's advocate with some things.
Who's the devil? Auditor General?
No.
Look, for a long time, we agonized over going to court with this matter in the first place. And as we spoke to people and kept on, telling them that this thing is not right, the law is very clear. You must disallow, you must surcharge. Okay. But everybody takes, I don't want to denigrate you, but that's the same attitude that everybody gave us. The thing is clear, and yet we don't want to prosecute anybody on this matter. You see, we are at the point now where an auditor comes to tell us, I've done the audit too. In my report, I'm saying very clearly that people have cost this country, how much is it? 47 billion?
Last was from 28 to 47 billion.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm writing it, and I'm saying that this money cannot be traced. All right? But who am I going to catch? That's essentially what he's telling us. Because even though my report identifies specific sectors and state organizations, yet still, I need to go and investigate it. So what was he doing when he was out there in the field writing the report? So if you are now going to investigate it, Is he going to investigate so he can cut out some of the issues he has found? Or is he going to now start looking for the persons whom he has already accused of having dissipated state money? We have this in writing from him.
That he has done one.
He has done one.
Out of the numerous cases.
Yes.
Out of all the cases.
Ghanaians aren't horrified at this.
He has done one. And we wrote to the Attorney General and asked him, how many cases has the Auditor General brought to you? And he admitted to us. Did you bring it?
Of course I brought the letter. Listen to Ghana's Attorney General when we asked him about the state of the economy. You see, it's very heavily tapped. Yeah. Question marks and everything. Listen to Attorney General. I take due cognizance of the significant tardiness in the processes leading to enforce notices of disallowance and surcharge.
Just that.
Oh, he gave us the list. He says when the Auditor General brings his notices and they ask for further information to go to court, nothing comes out of it. He says so far they've brought only one, and that one he admits that his office has delayed, so they are moving forward. But the Attorney General's description of the state of enforcement pursuant to a Supreme Court order to the two of them, is that it is significant tardiness. And if the English is too big, which for me it is, tardiness, but if you want to get your people to look it up. Oh, I can. Once we go on,
and
tardy means.
Are you
yes. Delayed beyond the right or expected time. Late, unpunctual, behind time, behind schedule, behind hand, overdue, belated, delayed, slow, dilatory. The opposite is punctual, early, and on time. Yeah. The chief legal officer of this country, the number one legal officer, says the person who is under a mandatory Supreme Court decision
is not meeting the timelines, and you can't go to court without the auditor. Attorney General. He can't.
We can't. So this is what happens. What happens if a person defies the Constitution, as we can see? Very interesting. There are three options. Under Article 2, every defiance of an order of the Supreme Court is a high crime. Yeah. Which means that our Attorney General should be preparing high crime charges against the Auditor General.
He's the Auditor General.
Oh.
If the Constitution was to apply. Yeah. Will he do it? We will write to him and ask him to do it.
You ask the Auditor, the Attorney General.
We will petition the Attorney General
absolutely
to charge him for high crimes. To charge the Auditor General with high crimes. Let's see if he'll do it. But if he doesn't do it, there are other strings to our bow. There's a mandatory order of the Supreme Court. A defiance of the order of the Supreme Court is contempt of court.
Yes.
So if they won't do the crime, we can start the quasi-crime. That is the third option. Defying the Constitution is like, let me say, but if you are charged with high crime, when you are convicted, for 10 years after the sentence, you are barred from holding public office.
Offices.
Good. But everybody forgets that the protection of the Auditor General and his independence means that he's subject to the same removal procedure as Superior Court judges. Which means that any Ghanaian can file a petition with the President today to say that the Auditor General has defied the Supreme Court and the President doesn't have a choice. You see, in the Article 146 procedure, the President is just a post office.
Conveyor belt.
He receives it, he sends it. The Chief Justice sets up the Judicial Committee. You have defied the Supreme Court. 3 judges of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, High Court,
prima facie,
will listen to your matter. When they recommend that you should be removed, they give to the Chief Justice. He doesn't have a say. He gives to the President. The President doesn't have a say. You are removed. Why should we go through all of this when all the Auditor General has to do is to issue paper? I don't get it. All he has to say that I have checked. You didn't do this. Here's paper. Surcharge, pay.
Maybe in the public, Occupy Ghana can give him some advice and give him an ultimatum to do some work before you look at. Maybe just because it's just paper. But
do you want to see how many letters you sent? I brought the letters here. That are infamous yellow and red letters. Yeah. You want to see them? I can give you tomes. Look, even
There's a whole dossier here of letters you've written to him.
look, even getting him to admit this, it took a year. We ultimately had to threaten to go to the Right to Information Commission before he did it. Even the Attorney General refused to answer our letters, so we threatened to go to the Right to Information Commission. In fact, we actually went there, we filed a petition before he responded with this. Right? So now, instead of the Auditor General doing the search, do you know what he's doing? He's recommending the Constitution says, hit his head with an axe. He says, can I tickle you with a feather?
Not even a slap on the wrist.
No. I recommend. Now, in fact, this is the worst part. In his current report, he says, I recommended. Recommended to whom? When you are supposed to take the action. Why are Ghanaians sitting down for this to happen? Why must we spend our small money to go to court to get the Auditor General to do this? When Ghanaians can say, we own this country, do it. But nobody's prepared to do it.
But he's actually being told to do it.
Now, today, finally, all the CSOs in Ghana congealed around our point and staged a picket. Isn't he embarrassed? He's doing recommendations when the law says surcharge. You have women and men in red standing in front of your office saying,
Do your work. Just
do your work. So there are three options: the high crime, contempt, removal. All these are three strings to our bow. You hear from us.
Okay, Citi.
Yeah.
You have some final comments before we go on a break.
Oh, I have plenty
On this
comments
auditor-
too.
Yeah, so also on the Auditor General, let's wrap up on that. Because when we come back, we are done with the Auditor General. I'm sure that the message is loud and clear.
Don't forget significant tardiness.
Yeah.
In case you doubt it, that's the letterhead of
that's
the
what it said.
that's
Attorney General.
that's the envelope.
Yeah.
With the Attorney General symbol, right? Office of the Attorney General, Ministry of
Address
Justice.
to Occupy Ghana.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Significant tardiness.
You see, you need to ask yourself, exactly what is it that Ghanaians want? See, we've been chasing this thing for how many years now?
Since 2015.
Since 2015. We've been pushing this.
7 years.
If we have arrived at a point where even after 7 years, the Public Accounts Committee is arguing and discussing audit matters and findings when they are now at
2018,
2019.
Yeah, reports. They are who can as we speak. Doing zonal hearings.
What are you trying to achieve?
To give people the opportunity to respond to these audit queries.
20
Maybe that's also because people say that that's also another weak link in the whole process.
No.
So it
No,
becomes
so-
a public
no.
a public show. People come there, to
No.
talk about these things.
Look, let me tell you what. Sorry to cut.
Go on.
I like to cut to the chase. No government likes the Occupy Ghana decision. You are the
Why?
parliamentary-
It's
you
an order
are-
to enforce what's in the
you are
constitution.
you are also the parliamentary correspondent. During the vetting of Mr. Kandapa, Harun Idrisu brought up this judgment, said he disagreed with it,
Yeah.
and that they should take steps to make sure not to enforce it or to go and try and set it aside. That's the minority leader. Mr. Kandapa then said, yes, he also disagrees with the judgment.
Former chairman of the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes. He said he disagrees with it and that it is only Parliament that can approve a surcharge. So we wrote to him that show us where in the Constitution the Auditor General's work is subject to your approval. The Auditor General, according to the Constitution, is not subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority. Unquote. The same words that give the judiciary protection, the same words that give the EC protection, the Constitution used it to protect the Auditor General. He is not subject to Parliament's control. Why will his... and this is interesting. The drafters of the Constitution were smart. That's not subject to control. It's in the same clause as the disallowance and surcharge. Because they knew that if they were going to push this lady or gentleman to do this, they needed to assure the person of independence. So the same 1877, the A tells him or her, you are independent. Now go ahead and surcharge.
All right. On that note, we'll take a break. When I come back, there's still a lot more to be discussed on this conversation. That's about the state of affairs in the country. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is still the point of view. I still have members of the Occupy Ghana, pressure group Occupy Ghana, in studio. Asan and Kama is a private legal practitioner, is a member of the group, and Sydney Keslieford is also a member of the group in studio. So, of course, when we put up the artwork that today we're having Occupy Ghana in studio, lots of comments from you. Some of them essentially indicating that Occupy Ghana, at least for the last 2-3 years, have been very quiet. All sorts of, meanings have been read into this silence and all. Even including the fact that the group may have been acquiescing to this government and all of that. I have them in studio, so I'll put the question straight to Ace first.
What is your answer
to that?
Yes.
Well, on the face of the evidence I have seen, in relation to the letters.
Only the letters?
Yes, the letters.
I can point you to... People make these comments since this government came to power.
Yes.
I can point you to almost monthly publications by Citi FM of the work we are doing.
Yes.
So we said we have been missing. 4 January 2018, Occupy Ghana calls for the existing TV license regime to be repealed and replaced. Do you remember when they said we were going to enforce the TV license regime?
Yes.
We told them that that law was unconstitutional. Almost as a result, in fact, we don't know if it's a result of it, but the GBC boss got fired.
Yeah.
When he said he was going to enforce TV license. Our letter. 17th December 2017, disease outbreak. Our medical team, Occupy Ghana, makes suggestions to the health minister that there was a disease outbreak in Kumasi. 11th November 2017, Occupy Ghana demands timelines for passage of RTI bill.
Yeah.
Occupy Ghana comments on alleged defilement of a minor at Asin Adadientem. 1st November 2017, A.C. Boateng must apologize or be sacked. Occupy Ghana. 27th October 2017, Occupy Ghana condemns sentences imposed on Delta Force members. Do you want more? 10th October 2017, ban on-site dispensing of gas. Occupy Ghana demands. Oh, listen to this one. 5th September 2017, Occupy Ghana supports Sierra Leone with medical supplies.
Okay.
I'm not, you want more?
No, I have that question. Because the group was essentially born out of the 1st July Occupy Flagstaff House group. A lot of people still think that street protest activism
let's deal with that.
Should still be very,
the people demanding that are not on the street doing activism in the first place.
Okay.
But they demand that I should be. Now listen, Occupy Ghana did not exist on 1st July 2014.
Okay. We did before that?
No.
No.
You see, you're surprised? We attended as individuals. I hadn't met Sydney before. I don't even think. Were you there?
I didn't. I was in Cape Coast that day.
We started meeting afterwards.
Okay.
The group was formed in September.
Okay.
The people who should take the credit are not being credited with it. It's a group of young men and women, and one woman, and I think 7 or 6 young men, who were called the Concerned Citizens for Responsible Governance. I was there for no more than 30 minutes. And I granted an interview. And the question was, why are you not giving ideas to the government instead of being here in the... I didn't go on the march. I was in the garden. After the garden, I said my car and went away. And I said, why? My job is to work like a bull and pay taxes.
Pay my taxes.
And for them to do their work. Now, I am awfully flattered that my 15-second cameo is now being represented as something that brought a government down. When at the time, they laughed at us and said our numbers were a joke. Now afterwards, suddenly, we are responsible for it. The group did not exist till then. Occupy Ghana has never staged a demonstration. We have never, as a group, we've never done that. Because when we were formed, we said our battle is for hearts and minds. And I'll tell you what happened. When we were formed, see, do you remember your car incident? Yeah, there was acid on his car tire. I appeared, he was shaking like a leaf.
Wow.
The tire had flown out, his Mercedes. The rust was clear. That same day, another member had the same thing on his car tire. You see, there are things that shock people because they don't know. And so we decided, not because of that, but for various reasons. And the intelligence told us, Charlie, we decided that our fight will be for hearts and minds. And that we will stage an intellectual battle in an arena where you can't physically beat us. And so since we were formed, we have simply issued statements. The fact that it's been hyperbolized means that it was having more effect than they will admit. The group itself has never been on the streets. You see, that is the point. There was the Occupy Flagstaff House event. We admit that we all met at that event. And afterwards, we started our operations. But we did not stage it. We can't take the credit for it. We won't take any credit for the Red Monday today. We did not organize it. It is all CSOs, interestingly. All CSOs except Occupy Ghana.
You are not part of it.
No, we were drawn in at a later stage. But when the plan was when they started, we're not part. We're not invited. But we're happy. We are very happy. If we had more Occupy Ghanaians all over the country, a lot of things would be resolved. So I can show you that we've been more activists. The reason is this: people receive us differently. These guys don't necessarily push back. Right, look, we've been fighting the lands issue. We want to stop that Achimota thing they are doing. If we and say that we found a provision in the Constitution that they can't do this without a policy document. And so any so-called return of lands is unconstitutional. All right? If you meet the people and they say, we agree, can you help us write the policy? How are you going to go to court?
So not even acting on the power of eminent domain and that you don't want to use the land again. You have those who already, you took the land from off the first right of return.
Now there's a reality. The Supreme Court held that Article 25 and 6 only applies to lands acquired after 7 January 1993. So you can't tell Ghanaians that because of the Constitution, which doesn't apply before the Constitution came into force, you are returning lands. The Supreme Court has held that about 3 or 4 times. So it is an untrue statement. And in any event, it's a first option. But you are not compelled to do it. So if you are doing it, you have another reason. And we've digressed, but I'll tell you why. The Constitution says that those who are holding public lands, the president, holds it in trust for Ghanaians. So by the Constitution, principles of trust law have been elevated to constitutional principles and bind the president concerning public lands. One of the first duties of a trustee is that you cannot dissipate trust property. So if the state has acquired land for 31 million Ghanaians, why are you giving it to one person? But that's not all of it. The Constitution then says that people in his position and the Lands Commission who are managing the public lands are fixed with fiduciary and accountability duties, which means that they cannot dissipate the trust property without accounting to Ghanaians. But when you meet them and they say, you know what, you are right, help us draft the policy. If I go to court, the court will say, but they've admitted they are wrong. Why are you here? You understand? So anybody who says they don't hear as well, this is my response. It's quicker waking a person who is truly asleep than one who pretends to be asleep.
All right, Sydney.
You can't heal the deaf who is not deaf.
Sydney, on this accusation against the group that the Occupy Ghana is sleeping.
If you are finished, I'll give you about 200 instances if you have time.
Yes, we don't.
No, you see, unfortunately. For me, it makes me laugh because there are definitely a group of very, very vocal people who need some space to talk in Ghana's matters. And unfortunately, they don't read deeply enough. And they don't take their time to research something when they start conceptualizing an idea. We decided right from the day one when we met, and we met with the Citizens for Responsible Governance at the time. And we all sat down and we said, look, how do we take this thing forward? Where do we go from here? We had a big discussion. We disagree and we agree. And this is the way Occupy Ghana works. When we have an issue which we table, anybody can come up and say, no, this thing, it's rubbish. If you go down this way, this thing, it'll derail. So we are not going to do it. We will debate it, we will argue amongst ourselves, and eventually some people will say, look, no, I don't agree with this thing. I don't want to be a part of it. But go ahead if that's what you want. And a lot of the time, that's how our decisions to move forward on issues come up. We argue a lot, but at the end of the day, there's a consensus. And we decide we are going to either go or no go. When we decided we were going to do Occupy Ghana, we had a small task force, and they were given the opportunity to draft where we are going with what we are trying to do. As a result of that, some people fell out.
Because they couldn't align.
They didn't want to be a part of
strategy,
what we were saying because
they're probably more activist than we were. That's fine.
yeah.
They didn't like your bourgeois.
I don't know about bourgeois.
Activism.
No, you see, the end argument was this: we will bring about more permanent change
Sure.
if we go to court and we sort a matter out in court, and the Supreme Court or whatever high court agrees with what we are doing, and it is actually promulgated or acted upon. Then it made a lot of sense to most of us to say, look, this has to be our way forward. We need to get into situations where we actually change matters in the country. If not, you will go on demonstration today. Tomorrow, government will come and say, sorry guys, we apologize, we agree with you, so let's move on.
So there's nothing binding.
There's nothing permanently committed at the end of the day. And we wanted that permanent commitment. All right? So we looked for what we could do that would give us a major impact from day one. Hence, Auditor General. Because to us, it was very clear from the beginning that this Auditor General thing, it wasn't going anywhere. Yes, they were publishing their reports, and then
it will become a news item.
It sits on the shelf in Parliament, and that's it.
Yeah, and to add to what Sin is saying, we could hunt and peck 100 issues and not solve any of them. We decided to go deeper. Once you're going deeper, you do not have the time. Look, one statement can take 6 hours of research. That is why so far nobody has been able to sue us for defamation.
Yes.
Nobody has been able to pick at anything that we've said which is wrong, because we will research it to the last bone before we come up with a statement. You understand? You remember when the birth and death says you can't register your child's name with Nana or Papa? Yes. How did it stop? Occupy Ghana threatened to go to court. The gentleman who issued the statement was fired. There's a when this government appointed its elephant-sized government, we said it was a recipe for corruption.
Yeah.
And this was when they formed the government. 2017. So, look, we've decided to go deeper. Going deeper is expensive. It takes time. Anyone who has a problem with us and thinks that we should do more, please do it.
All right.
We are doing our own. After all, this is our side dig. Yeah. It's our side hustle. You to do your own. That's all.
In exercising your civic responsibilities.
That's all.
Yeah, we'll take a break. When I come back, we still have other issues to discuss in wrapping up the program. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is still the point of view. Let's get into a final moment. Of course, Aisha One. Getting to the very end of the news day, around 4 p.m., the news broke that apparently he's been rearrested in forecourt and all of that. But the story on citynewsroom.com quickly says Aisha One rearrested in Ghana for illegal mining, slapped with 2 charges. So that's a picture, and the story reads Aisha One, the Galamsey kingpin, was deported in 2019. Is back in Ghana, has been rearrested for engaging in illegal mining. She has been slapped with 2 charges, which are mining without license, engaging in the sale and purchase of minerals without a valid license. She was arrested with 3 others, Zhong Li Hua, Huang Ji, and Huet Hai Hung. Aisha One and her accomplices were brought before an Accra Circuit Court last Friday. The Ghana News Agency reported that the court preserved Aisha's plea because there was no Chinese interpreter. GNA reported that at the court, Detective Chief Inspector Frederick Sapon prayed for the court to remand the accused persons while investigations continue. She has been remanded and is to reappear in court on September 14, 2022. So, Occupy Ghana, in usual fashion,
it didn't take her very long to come back, did it?
Well, that's interesting.
3 years.
So I'll tell you what happened. So there were all the news about it. I said, okay, we got to be very careful because once the matter has gone to be before court, we can't prejudice the outcome of the current matter. So we're going to be very careful. But we'll talk about the things that led to it. Somewhere around May 2017, we got wind that she had been arrested. And, you know, as happens with Occupy Ghana, somebody left an envelope at my office. And when I looked at it, it was the charges that she had been slapped with. They were petty administrative issues. When there was evidence that without a proper license, she was mining. But she was charged with some immigration things that she didn't file immigration papers.
What?
So today you are shocked, you see. So on 16th May 2017, we petitioned the Attorney General and said we hear that, and we showed the Attorney General a copy of the charge sheet that had been prepared by the police or Ghana Immigration Service. Yeah. And said, not in this country. Over our dead bodies, you must charge her with the relevant offenses. We cited the sections of the Minerals and Mining Act that, in our view, creates the offenses that must be laid against her. Thank God. The Attorney General received that petition, called for it, and filed the proper charges. So on 24th May 2017, we issued another statement acknowledging the fresh charges and saying, now, let's see, agoniform. Then she was spirited out of this country. You see the sequence? They would have done administrative offenses and sent her away. Or charged, should have paid some minor fines.
It goes back to do her.
But when we forced the proper charges, they suspected the charges were going to stick. And so, as the senior minister admitted, either we imposed the trouble on ourselves or the Chinese government imposed on us. We sent her, I think it was a null prosecutor. And we allowed her to go away. Because those charges would have sent her to jail for 20 years. At the very least, acknowledge the work we did. Yeah. The charges were sent her to jail for 20 years. And they spirited her away. When they did, we didn't spare them. We did not spare them. On 24th September 2019, we said that then the senior minister came to defend it.
Yeah.
We were on his tail. Finally, the president came and admitted that it was a mistake. Yeah. And we told him that the Aisha 1 mistake was a slap in the face of Ghanaians. 24th September 2019, reported by Graphic. We later went back and said that his fight against Galamsey died the day they allowed Aisha 1 to go. You see, because we didn't. Remember, we went out. We spoke about the issue of the burning of the champagne. And we actually called a criminal. You see, the law is very sensible. It says if the person is engaged in illegal mining, arrest the person, seize the equipment, take the person to court, let the court jail the person, and order that the equipment be confiscated to the state. Instead of doing that, we are burning the equipment.
And we saw it with the excavators, the ones that...
Yes, they burnt them. And burning the excavators didn't change anything. No. It's back. Why were the people not arrested? Because it's the people who operate the excavators. But instead of arresting them, we decided to burn it. Instead of trying Aisha 1, we spirited her out of the country. She's back. Because there's something here. It's gold. We don't know our gold. If she's prepared to risk a return to this country, risk jail for our gold, apparently she's here from the beginning of the year. Yeah. Right? This is interesting. There's something here. But this is the point. They allowed her to go. We told the president about this. I hear government people were not happy with our attitude. Citi doesn't care. I don't care. We said what we had to do. Today, she's back. Because we didn't jail her. We didn't give the court the opportunity to even free her. So if she's back, she's run into our arms. Are we going to free her again? Are we going to make another mistake because the president admitted it's a mistake?
File another null prosecution?
But listen to this. How can we be burning the equipment? That is the evidence that will try the people. How many people have gone to jail for Galamsey? If you didn't jail Aisha 1, who can you jail? That's why we say the day we let her go was the day we lost the fight against Galamsey.
This can be an opportunity to...
She has come back into our waiting arms. So what do you do when Bedafwa Adam comes back? Let's take her through the judicial process. If she wins, she wins. If she loses, she loses. But you cannot jail a Ghanaian when you allow the Chinese to run away.
Okay. Sydney, quickly before we go, state of the economy. We have
I beg you, Chamfang and equipment.
Okay.
Now, we have Koli, right?
Yeah.
What does Chamfang do? It takes silt and then they wash it. Imagine that we had 10 champans on Kole. Are we
I
thinking?
get the idea.
The excavators, if we seize all of those excavators and put them to work on Kole, it will become the Thames. You live in London. The Thames finally recovered. He found some fish in it, right? We could do something better with it, but we burnt them. And the Galamsey has resumed. And when we talked about this, they said we're too legalistic. We didn't only talk about it. We brought proposals that we are not saying stop people from doing artisanal mining, but you have in your law a procedure. We recommended processes for registration, regulation, and everything. Nobody minded us. Galamsey is back.
You sound frustrated. Yes.
Economy.
Economy,
Yeah. Going back to a fund program. Inflation over 30%. We CD depreciation. Last week we got some $750 million dollars. So at least it's gone down. It's gone down a bit.
Look, it will come back up again because it's very, very simple. You depend on importing everything.
Okay, that's the root cause.
There's nothing else to it. Once you're doing that, you need dollars. Why do you think Russia is fighting all the fight that it is fighting today with Ukraine? And trying to bring together this, what do they call them, the BRICS? The BRICS.
Brazil,
Russia, India, China, and I don't know who, South Africa. Why are they fighting? Because everybody is trying to break away from this Western control. America will never lose this battle because they are printing the dollars right behind their doorstep.
Passing the Inflation Reduction Act.
All that one is just for you to go and, you people, media people, go and talk plenty. That's all. They will never, ever relinquish their hold.
So this is beyond us. It's beyond just mere economic management. Is that your
totally
contention?
Beyond us.
But God didn't create us for it to be beyond us.
That's the question I'm asking.
And what's the clearest sign? I shall want return to Ghana.
Why?
There's something here. Our laws say that when somebody mines our gold, government gets just 10%. It's time to change the law.
It's time to make a drastic
change the law.
See?
It's time to take a look at it. This, fortunately, unfortunately, we are resource rich.
Yeah.
Have we really positioned ourselves for it? Without that, I mean, look,
because
Russia is leveraging its crude and natural gas.
Yes.
You look at our step and it's fashioned in such a way that we just have the resources, but we don't have the capital to exploit.
Because
so
we are still operating Gadgetberg's economy. Gadgetberg's economy to make us hewers of wood and drawers of water. We have been unable to break out of Gadgetberg. That is where we are.
The problem is.
And we have all the people who have gone to school and learned economics. Citi is the finance person. That's the economy and economist. He was angry. And I said, sorry, you are a finance person. But this is, we have been unable to break out of the mold. And it said, Siva the cord shared the skill. Only the fool fixed in his folly thinks he can turn the wheel upon which he turns. Madam the Cathedral, Thomas Adeket. So we are there. We are being spun around and we expect to control anything. But I think the lesson both the NPP and NDC will learn is that anybody who politicizes the economy, it will come back to bite you.
Final moments. What's the Occupy Ghana's next? What the next couple of days, months, years?
Auditor General is still.
Please, teacher.
Please, teacher.
I've been pushing Ace that we should round up all the witches and the wizards. Oh, Bisano, and you're going to video.
But this is you know.
Okay, so we have identified the Auditor General as one of the people he calls.
Yeah, the riches.
Lands Commission is the other.
Lands Commission.
Yes, today they sent us a letter, and I'm like, oh, okay, guys, let's just go to court. You have been giving away our lands to people. We say, tell us the people and the circumstances under which you gave out, you return the lands to them. They say they are checking whether it will be violating the data, whatever. You forgot that the Constitution says
actually there are a group of MPs who have also filed a question for the Minister for Lands to all lands that state lands that have been given. The last time we came, he said they are in the process of compiling.
Yes, they told us they are compiling. We started. We are happy the parliamentarians are following our lead.
Okay.
I think we have become an opposition party. We should register as an opposition party, right?
Yeah.
Just that may join you. But this is the point. So Lands Commission, notice it said You want to have a dance with us? We're going to have a nice, interesting dance with you. Okay? So we are dealing with land. Every state land that has been returned, they must tell us the circumstances of the return, who got it, and for how much.
For how much?
If they won't give it to us, let's go to court.
Yeah.
So, an Auditor General, like I said, we have 3 options. We dilly-dallied on the issue of constituencies and districts and why in that instance as well, how the creation of new districts almost automatically leads to new constituencies. So governments can do a sexed-up gerrymandering by waiting for 7 years, then they do shakara with the districts, and suddenly they create new constituencies. But you see, but I'll give EC credit. We wrote to them, they gave us a nice, decent response. We are looking at it. If there's further engagement, we'll deal with it. So we'll deal with it. There are several issues. But let me say something for us to end. If all Occupy Ghana ever did was to go to the Supreme Court to get that decision that saved us 5.4 billion cedis and recovered 67 million cedis, would have done our work. Anybody who is calling for more, please do some and then come and tell me to do more.
All right. Thank you very much. That's how we wrap up today's show. Syndicate Slayford was in studio, member of Occupy Ghana, and Asana Nankoma, private legal practitioner, also member of Occupy Ghana. My name is Duke Menzowoku. I sat in for a regular host, Benako Kwable. Back same time, on Wednesday on the same channel.
The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile. South Africa Tourism. South Africa Tourism. Inspiring new ways.